my father for Father's Day. Actually, I forget what I sent him. He's going to get it in a couple days. But yeah, Father's Day is also tomorrow. So Philip, bro, I guess I'll wish you a early happy Father's Day, brother, man. You got any advice for all the fathers out there for my future fatherhood, maybe one day?
Yeah, man, I guess so. Advice, I mean, I think that I've always said anything worthwhile is tough, that nothing worthwhile is easy. And I think often the harder that something is, the more worthwhile it is. And children are the prime example of that. It is the most difficult thing out there. You really, I mean, it's honestly committing to forever protect, forever, their whole lives, protect and love this person and do everything you can to put them before you, which comes naturally. But I mean, it's a lifetime commitment, right? So it's not easy. It starts off in the very beginning where they can't even live without you. They need you to feed them. They need you to change them. They need you to help them sleep. They need you to do everything to put a blanket around them, make sure that they're warm. And it changes, but they need you throughout. And it's a huge responsibility. And with that comes massive reward. And
Yep.
to have these little humans that look up to me as if I am some type of God in a way, makes me want to be a better person, makes me want to live
Mm,
up to some level of that, how high they hold me on that pedestal, you know?
mm,
And I'll say that it's both the hardest thing I've ever done, but the biggest blessing that I've ever done. And I would do it again a million times over.
yeah.
And yeah, that would be my advice for it. So yeah, I'm looking forward to tomorrow. You know why? Because I know that they are, and that's what being a father is all about. So I'm looking forward to them enjoying giving back to me in their way. You know, in the end of the day, I'm going to be getting a plastic something from their collection and all of that, you know, stuff that has no material value but has got huge sentimental value. And yeah, I mean, that's what being a dad is. And it's incredible. It really is a very special thing and a huge blessing. I feel very, very blessed to have three beautiful boys.
What would be the best, like, what would be the most, I don't want to use the word sentimental gift, but like, what would be something that as a father you would be like, damn, that'd be so, like, that's lit. Like, that's a good gift kind of thing. Like, what's something that sons can do, bro? I'm asking for a friend.
Bro, honestly, like it depends on the age of the child, but a card written like a card written from the heart, you know, whether it be a baby and they've drawn a picture for you or just colored, you know, random thing that makes no sense. I mean, I've got a wall not behind me, but sort of around the corner behind me that is just artwork from my children at various ages.
Um,
I mean, if you saw it, it looks like absolute crap. But for me, it's like worth more than the most beautiful sculptural painting that we've got hanging in the lounge
when NFT
downstairs, you
collection?
know?
When NFT art
Yeah,
collection, bro?
man. Well, I do. I've got a whole thing. But I mean, just to see, yeah, exactly what Luke's saying. You know, your daughter's hiding pictures and they're getting so excited and they're loving it. You know, it's just amazing. It's incredible. It's sweet that they want to give back to you in their own way. You know, um, I mean, my little boy Raph, like, he's 7. Every day I come home, serious. Every day I come home, he says to me, "Dad, what can I help you with?" It's an incredible thing. I mean, it's just he just wants to help dad. He wants to, and I said to him the other day, I said, you know, you've had a long day at school. Why don't you just go like be on your iPad? Why do you want to? He says, no, I enjoy being with you. And
Yeah.
every time I help you, I learn something so that I can teach my son one day.
How old
That's
is
from a
he?
7-year old. That's from a 7-year old.
Bro,
So
what?
he, so I mean, it's incredible. They make you think and they make you question.
Yeah.
And Danny and Jake the same. I mean, the love that they have. Shame, I told you, Jake broke his leg, sorry, his arm yesterday. And Danny and Jake were wrestling, and that's what happened. You know, they were playing. They were playing. Danny never intended. Danny did not sleep the whole night. He felt so guilty for doing it. He loves him so much. And to see that bond is just incredible. And when Jake came back from the hospital this morning with his cast, Danny the whole day was like, let me get that for you, Jake. Let me do this for you. You need a pillow. Ran around and we told Danny, we said, Dan, it's not your fault, my doll. It's really not. He fell in a funny way. You guys wrestle. That's part of being boys. Don't blame yourself and all of that. But that's another gift of it is to see the bond between the siblings is incredible. And, you know, I remember my dad always, you know, I come from a big family. I've got 5 sisters. I now have 5 brother-in-laws, and I've got, I think, 20 nieces and nephews, somewhere around
Whoa.
there. So I've got a massive, massive family. My parents brought up 6 children. And my dad used to say to me, he always wants peace in the home. So all he wants is peace. He wants his children to get along. And you don't really understand that until you're a dad and until you see your children loving each other. And obviously they fight at times and whatever, but I'm saying now with Danny loving Jake so much and being so worried about him, and it's just beautiful. It's beautiful to see. It's really, it brings you back, and also you get to play as if I said you get to play with like remote control cars again. So if you like doing that when you were young, you get to do it again. As like Bianca's like, what are you doing? It's like, no, I'm just doing it for the kids. Meantime, I love remote control cars, and it's like cool. So like we get to play Xbox together, right? So I get to do some cool stuff that otherwise it would be like, how do I sort of explain this to Bianca? But it's cool, man. It's a good experience. It's not all roses. It's hard. It's hard work. It's hard work, but it's good.
Wow. Yeah, I'll always be taking notes about parenthood, bro, because I don't know what I'm doing. I also remember there were so many things that I resented, but I was just kind of like, damn, I wish I had done it differently about my parents. And then as I get older, I think about things differently. So I don't have like a proper grasp on it until I feel like I get enough opinions on it and see how different people do it and things.
I think it comes naturally, and regardless of how people do it, you'll find your own way. And the first step is just finding a partner in crime, like the right partner in crime. Right, and not rushing that, because it's got to be the right partner. Because I think that's the worst thing. I think when either like a husband and wife are only together for the children, so they say, look, we don't like each other anymore, but we don't want to put the kids through it. We'll wait for them to be older. That's terrible. That's a tragedy. And the other side is like if they do go through with a divorce, and that happens a lot, but the kid, it affects kids, quite a lot. So I think you want to find the right partner for you. That's really, really important. And when you do, it comes naturally. You learn. I mean, you know nothing in the beginning. But the thing is because you've got such a love for them, and everything that you're doing is just in their best interest. Whether you're right or wrong, the intentions are good, and therefore it's generally good because you just want the best for them. I mean, and you feel you can never explain that until you see your baby for the first time, and you realize how helpless they are and how much they need you, and how this is your most important job for now.
I just get nervous because like even if you have all that, like if you haven't dealt with your shit, especially with your parents, or if you don't have a good relationship with your parents, you pass that shit down to you. Like my mom, for example, Japanese, she's a tiger mom mentality because she grew up with a World War II veteran dad and a mom who had to basically do it all herself. So her mom was a fucking raging monster in the household, like screaming at her, do this, do that. So when she came to America, anything that wasn't that was better than that. And we don't have that experience. Obviously, I didn't grow up with her. So like, I don't even know what that would have, I'm sure it would have been 10 times worse than our household was, which was already stressful because my mom is stressed. So she passed all that down to us, which made us resent her because we don't like the way she parented. But now it's taking 10 years of me like learning about that to be like, oh, like I can forgive her. I can understand her a little bit more. I can see why she did things this way. I can see why my dad did things differently. He was raised in a totally like classic white American household, like come back when the sun's down, whatever, you broke your arm, like whatever, that kind of thing. And my mom's total opposite. And so I think that there's a lot of kids who just have a lot of resentment because of the way that stuff happened as they got older, and then they don't deal with it. So because they don't deal with it, they fuck themselves because they fucked the kids over doing that. That's why in my head, I'm like,
but the thing is, even if you hadn't come to the realization, which you have, and it's very mature of you now already, the second you have a child, you look at your parents very differently. Even if you hadn't come to that realization yet, you will come to that realization because like you said to me a couple of weeks ago, when you were quite emotional, you said to me, you realized that even if it wasn't purpose, that it wasn't done on purpose, it was always done out of love. And even if it wasn't perfect, it was always done out of love from your parents. And you realize that and stopped being so hard on them and judging them so hardly. If you hadn't come to that realization, I strongly believe you would have once you have your own child, because you sort of like, you can't deny how you feel. And every parent feels, well, I would hope most parents feel the same level of love for their child that you can't explain until you've had a child. You realize, oh my God, my parents felt this when I was born.
Yeah.
For me. and therefore everything they did because they thought it was the best for me. Was it the best for me? Maybe not, but
Mm,
they thought it was. And when you realize that their intentions were actually good the whole time, and they had put so much on hold for you, like you've said often about your parents and your dad,
yeah,
put their whole life on hold for you, you would realize that when you have children.
yeah,
Anyway,
yeah.
so
I think
it
my
ends up
point is that
turning the relationship.
I think maybe the point doesn't now that you said it like that, maybe the point isn't so much about I've just seen so much stuff online about people complaining about the fact that like, okay, look, maybe I've forgiven my parents, but I still fucking hate them because they're toxic. Like that's the classic one. We're like, look, I'll forgive you, but it doesn't mean I want to see you more than once every 5 years. And like that for me is a reflection of that parent having not dealt with the toxicity in themselves. And maybe, yes, maybe they did put everything on hold for the kid, but that doesn't take away the toxicity that they grew up with, which the problem is like once you release your kid into the wild, you hope that like your work as a parent brings them home, like brings them back and like wants them to, but if you do it the wrong way, then they're not going to want to like, and the thing is, I feel like with my family, we did deal with it. Like because I dealt with it, my sister's dealing with it because she realizes that's the only way to get over it is to go head first into it. I would argue that most people don't do that because that has been the most uncomfortable year of my life. I've never had so many awful, long, intense, uncomfortable conversations with my parents. And I just sit here and I just don't believe that most people are doing it. Like, I know it sounds arrogant, but I'm like, I don't believe that most people on the street that I talk to, especially people who are not like go-getters, I just don't believe that they're dealing with their shit. And I don't believe that their parents have done it. And I think that's the reason that people can't see eye out of their parents. I think that's why people move out at 18, don't see their parents more than twice a year. I don't like that. And then I see people from the Eastern side, pretty much everyone but America, thinking, yeah, man, like my family lives right down the street. I see my parents 3 times a week. I hang out here. I go here. I drop the kids off. We have a family dynamic. And I'm like, yo, we be doing this wrong, bro. Like we've been doing this wrong. So I'm trying to figure out.
I think, look, I mean, I'm in South Africa, I'm not in the States, and definitely family is challenging. I think there's certain things in life that are very, very final, certain things that you can never, ever reverse from, ever.
Mm,
One of them is having a child. Once you've had a child, I mean, you can't really send them back. But the other one is the loss of a parent. And I do believe that people will regret the time that they are judging their parents and choosing not to see them once they're gone. And
mm,
that's the sad thing about it is once they're gone, you can't see them again.
yeah.
And I lost my dad 3 years ago, as you know. I was incredibly close with him. I was his only son. He had 5 daughters and me, and that brings a very strong connection. And we made a conscious effort, even when I had the twins and wasn't sleeping, we would go for suppers at least once every 2 to 3 weeks, just him and I, just the two of us. And we would sit down and we'd connect. And we really, he would often say, "Boy, I love you, but I also like you." And I felt the same way.
Yeah.
However, about 3 or 4 years before he passed away, we had an incredibly big fight. I'm not going to go into the details about it, but a very big fight. And our egos took over on both sides. Both of us were dug our heels in. We're both stubborn people. And we stepped away from each other for 2 solid years. Didn't see each other, didn't speak. And I did reconcile with him about 6 months before he got sick. And we reconciled. There was a lot of hurt on both sides, and we both made a conscious effort to be together again. And we made those same dates, just him and I, and sat there laughing. At that time, it was when Donald Trump was getting out, and Giuliani booked his conference at the Four Seasons, which was actually a shop instead of the Four Seasons Hotel. I don't know if you remember that conference, and all his hair dye was falling down. And my dad and I sat there laughing, watching these YouTube videos. We had the same sense of humor. We found the same thing funny. And I'm just so grateful. First of all, I regret the 2 years that we threw away.
Do you regret it or was it necessary?
I regret it.
Okay.
Knowing what I know now, that I will never see him again, and I could never sit down and have that again, and I would pay anything in the world to be with him for another 5 minutes, even though at the time it was so serious, and it really was. Looking back, it was stupid. If I had known that he was going to go so soon, I would have not dug my heels in. I would have gone to him and said, "Dad, we're both being idiots. You're not going to be here forever. We're both digging our heels in. We both being egotistical. Let's put that aside. We need to move on from this. We need to do it soon. We don't have much time. This is not. I do regret it. I mean, at the time, I didn't know he was going to pass when he did, and I didn't look at it from that perspective. But that's what I'm saying. I'm saying typically. I would anyone who's struggling, and obviously there are really toxic relationships where you do need to just cut ties, and that's okay. But I'm saying for 99% of the time, that's not the case. And if everyone's honest with each other, if the phone was picked up tomorrow and it said, "My love, I'm your mom, I'm your dad. I've got 24 hours to live, guaranteed. In 24 hours, I'm going to die." Will you still not want to see them for those last 24 hours? If the answer is yes, fine. But you don't know that until they're gone, because you can't. Once they're gone, there's no seeing them again. There's no talking again. There's no. So it's hard to impress that.
I have, knock on wood 150 times, but I have never experienced death yet. Never. I've only experienced like pets dying. Like nobody I know that I'm even remotely close to has even come close to that. Like my dad had a couple car accidents that were kind of sketchy, but like nothing real. Like he didn't even get hurt. And so I'm like, I think I lack that awareness of what that even means to have that hole never be able to be filled. Like once it's gone, they're gone. I understand the concept, but I don't know what that means to be like, damn.
No one can. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying is that if you could fast forward in people's minds, which you can't. Same with kids. You'll never understand until you have a kid. You never will. And you'll never understand loss of a parent until you've lost a parent. You never will, and you can't. That's why I think it's important just for me to say, someone who's been through it. So if there's, we've got whatever, however many people listening, if there's one person sitting there who thinks, you know what, let me pick up the phone to my dad or my mom or whatever, and they get an extra year, 2, 3 years that they wouldn't have otherwise, I would feel great, because you once it happens, there's nothing you can do. And the stuff was serious that went on with me and him, very serious. But again, I regret it. I'm just glad that we reconciled before he passed, because I wouldn't have had those last 6 months with him, and I would have regretted it more. That's the truth.
Dude, honestly, I ask you these questions because I feel like your kid is smart at 7, but he's also, I'm not surprised that that's what he would say. Like you have a good way about you. You have a good perspective, and like you have, you're a good person. And I feel like I have sort of fixed a lot of the ways I think about that towards, especially my father, because of the way you've been able to word things out in my head. Cause I lack some of the experience you have. So I know for a fact, if other people aren't listening and picking some stuff, I definitely have. I've definitely repaired my relationship with my parents. I would say almost tenfold. And I don't know if it's directly because of the conversations we've had on the show, but we've had enough conversations about this type of stuff for me to know for a fact that it's made a pretty large impact. So I appreciate you, Philip, and I know there's people in here who definitely have picked up some stuff from the stories you've shared.
I hope so. But yeah, Father's Day tomorrow. Looking forward. Thinking of my popsy. He was really a selfless guy. He really was. He lived for his family. He was a family guy. That was it. That's all that mattered. I remember the one day a teacher smacked me at school for some reason. He went to that teacher's house. He said, "Come and watch." And pick the teacher up against the wall until the teacher apologized. He was fiercely defendant of his children. Yeah, he had 5 daughters. Bro. So he had all these guys trying to pick up these girls. A guy would come in the house, he'd shake the guy's hand and he'd squeeze it, and he'd say, "You see this hand? You keep the hand at the door. In other words, don't touch my daughter in my house. You keep your hands at the door. You can collect them on the way out." He had a whole lot of stuff like that, where he was very. I mean, my dad. The one day he was driving in. We live in South Africa. He was driving in, and he turned around, and there were 3 guys with guns. They wanted to hijack him. They wanted to take his car. And him being the guy he was, like the protector, knowing that he had 5 girls and a little boy inside the house with no gun, ran after these hijackers, screaming. He chased them down the street. He had no firearm. The guy was like overweight. He could barely walk, let alone run. But that protection, that thing, he just wanted to protect us and look after us. That was his whole mission in life, and that's what it becomes when you have kids. That's what it's all about.
Damn, bro, that's hella powerful. Shit, dude. I don't know if there's a better way to end other than me
No, I
shilling,
think we're good.
other than just me shilling one last thing. Guys, the
No, no more
stream
shilling, please,
back, bro.
Cade. Yes, enough shilling for one day.
Vintage
You want to
Cage
shill
back.
one more thing?
Streams are back, baby. You guys already know.
What,
Look forward to all
what's
the
back?
streams. There's nothing to pull up. I was just gonna say the streams are coming back. I feel like I need to say that every week so I can get myself to do it. But the streams are coming back. It's gonna be the coffee break
Well, I
show.
hope this served a purpose for you in doing that, because I thought, for those of you that weren't here in the beginning, Cade curated all of the topics for tonight's show. All of them. Only thing that I curated was market update and what's trending. Everything else was Cade. So yeah, bro, you can do it. I mean, I know you can, but you're not doing tea time. Haven't done it for a long time, and
Yeah.
you did an amazing job.
Thank you.
I'm
Ralph.
very proud of you.
Thank you.
I'm sure everyone else is. So, guys, happy Father's Day. Thank you for joining us. Just to remind you, we stream every single Saturday, 9:30 p.m. CEST. We do it on Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter Spaces. So there's no excuse, whatever platform you like. Join us. If you're not following Kate and I, great to follow us. And we will see you here next week. Same time, same place. Be kind to each other. Keep well. Thank you, everyone. Ciao.
Thanks, guys. Bye.